Okay, so we're finally going to get started here. What we're going to be doing today is unboxing and assembling a brand new, original Prusa i3 Mk2 3D printer kit. I haven't opened this at all. As you can see here, this is still in the original shipping box that came from the Czech Republic, and surprisingly got here in 5 days, which kind of blew my mind. But we're going to go ahead and rip this bad boy open. Hopefully this won't destroy anybody's eardrums, because some of this packaging might be a little loud, being that it's all plastic. So it doesn't look like anything got damaged during shipping on the exterior, but we won't know anything else until we see the inside. Again, this will be the loudest part of the video, so I apologize in advance if this is destroying anybody's eardrums. So there we have it. There is our nice little box. You can see it's all branded. Has graphics on there. It has the little dragon that they always use for their display imagery. And it does seem to be a nice heavyweight box. So hopefully everything fared okay. First hurdle. There we go. These actually go down through the top and clip on the inside. Okay, we have what they've become infamous for. Apparently everything, or every printer they sell, they throw in a box of Haribo gummies, which is kind of nifty. Won't waste too much time on them. We've got a bunch of air fill. We'll deposit in the trash. We have a congratulations on getting your new printer kind of thing. And this looks like a packing list, and it is funny, even the jellies are on the packing list, so it's very important to them, apparently. We'll set that aside. Here's the manual that they've become kind of famous for. They apparently have very good documentation for the assembly process, which a lot of the off-brand printers are lacking, from what I've seen online. It comes with our... This is the testing slip that they do. I guess they test most of the components before they actually ship them, which is fantastic. I would imagine a lot of companies don't do that on their kits. Obviously, they're going to on their assembled printers, because you can buy this printer completely assembled, but we bought the kit. Here's our invoice. There you can see the total with shipping was $770, which might seem like a lot when you look at some of the other i3 style kits that are online, but this one comes with the best of essentially everything. This has one of the best hot ends available on the market right now, and the quality is just fantastic from the videos that I've seen other people do. So we'll start disassembling this. You can see this is all packed and nested in there fairly tightly, because the box I just took out filled this spot. Here we have our power supply. We'll set all this out and then actually examine it, so we can get this big box out of the way. More air packing. Have our power cable. I have no idea what's in these boxes. They're all kind of labeled the same. But all of their packaging is branded, which is kind of nice. It definitely gives you the impression that they don't mess around. They're not just trying to, like, take the cheapest route possible. I assume these are our threaded rods, because that is fairly heavy. Set that there. This is one of the boxes that is labeled. These are apparently our motor kits, because it says motor kit. And this pretty obviously has to be our build plate. That's large and flat. And this does come with a heated build plate, which allows you to print in PLA and things like that. Like I said, this kind of nests together in a strange way. Apparently the Czechs have different box technology than we do here in the States. But we'll set that there. Hopefully that's... because I'm going to be standing here. Hopefully that'll be visible so people will kind of, at a glance, can see what we're doing here. Alright. So, are we streaming? It's always kind of hard for me to tell, because it looks like we're offline in the video here, but I don't know. I guess if we're not streaming video, somebody will let me know here at some point. I guess we will begin unboxing this stuff. The first thing I noticed, a significant portion of the parts that this machine is made out of are 3D printed. And this is one of them. This is our power supply here. No loose parts, that's always good. But our power supply has a mount that is 3D printed, and that looks really, really nicely done. I mean, you can obviously see the layer lines. I don't know how... use our small camera here. You can obviously see the layer lines, but that is a really high quality print. Has their logo embossed on it. Looks like a well-manufactured part. The power supply seems okay, I don't know. It doesn't seem super heavy. Like, I've built a lot of computers, and I've definitely seen beefier power supplies than that. But the end connectors all seem nice, like nice heavyweight connectors. And I see, too, that these are screw terminals. So I assume the wires aren't actually soldered in there, so if you ever would need to change a connector or anything, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. I guess this is our PLA here. I went ahead and got the orange because if you see in the picture, almost all of the 3D, well, I guess all of the 3D printed parts, with the exception of this one on the power supply, are orange. And one of the first things we're going to print is a set of replacement parts for the printer in case anything breaks. We'll have a set ready to go. So I'm in a basement here, and we do live in a place where it's kind of damp, and it's a basement, so it's dusty. So I'm actually not going to open this PLA, because I would assume there's a packet of desiccant in here, and PLA is actually really sensitive to moisture and stuff. So we'll leave this shrink wrapped until we actually need it. What to do next? I guess we can unpack these boxes. Okay, and this looks like most of our hardware. We have boxes of bolts. It looks like there's some of our linear bearings, a bunch of nuts, tie straps. Looks like our extruder gear. And they are all nicely labeled with what I assume are one-to-one printouts of the parts, so you can double check. I'll just grab one of these and show you. There's a one-to-one mapping. That is really bright on there. There's a one-to-one mapping of what's included in this bag, so you can double check that you actually have the right part, because that is important. Because in here we have like 10, 12... you know, and very similarly sized screws, and you do want to get the right piece in the right place. So we have a lot of hardware. I can see why this takes a little bit of time. USB cable, which we likely will not be using, because we're not going to be doing any tethering. Comes with a part kit. Or a tool kit, I mean. So here we have what I assume is everything we need. We have a set of hex wrenches. Two relatively cheap, but I would assume adequate wrenches. A miniature screwdriver, which actually seems to be fairly decent quality. And a nice little pair of needle nose pliers. So we shouldn't actually need anything outside of what they already provide, which is pretty nice, given the price you pay. A glue stick, which from what I've heard you don't need for most types of prints. Like most PLA prints, you're not really going to need that. this appears to be the LCD display and our 8 gig SD card that this comes with, which from what I've seen comes preloaded with a couple different files for you to test print. This is our what's called a Rambo board, and we're done with this box here. Box 1 down. This is the controller board that controls our stepper motors. And then has a nice little box of its own in there. Nice little board. This has regular automotive style fuses, which is kind of nice because they're really inexpensive to replace if you ever would have a problem. And there's 3 of them on there, so I would imagine this board is relatively resilient to surges. And some more, I assume the mounting hardware and some more straps for cable management. I guess we will put that back in the anti-static bag. We don't want any of these parts floating around if we don't need them right now. Alright, and then here, I believe, is our extruder. Yes, it is. So here's our extruder and everything that gets attached to it, and it looks like most of the wiring and sensors and whatnot. Here we have a pretty cool little fan. That is a tiny little fan. This is our I think this is magnetic. This is our calibration sensor for the self-leveling. This is the fan that I assume goes on the extruder for part cooling. We have some really nice cables here. These are all cloth wrapped with, again, the same kind of heavy-duty ends on them. I'll go ahead and open this up. Pull one of these out. But you can see these aren't crimped in there or anything crazy. That wire actually has a like a solid pole sticking out the end that actually like screws down in this terminal, which I would imagine is going to wear very well. And then here is our actual extruder, which, from what I understand, is one of the better extruders on the market right now. And I've never actually seen any of this stuff in person, so it is really cool to see it. Has really nice machining, kind of aesthetically pleasing. I know it doesn't matter for anything, but that is definitely cool. So again, we'll leave this in the box because we don't want to inadvertently damage anything that we don't need right now. Alright, again, all their boxes are branded. That's kind of nice. Gives me warm fuzzies. Set our manual aside. We have one more of these medium-sized boxes. I assume this one's going to have a bunch of our parts in it because they've got to be somewhere in here. We're running out of boxes. Yeah, here they are. Here's a whole bunch of printed plastic. And you see, you can, apparently if you ordered the black, you would get your stuff a little bit quicker because most of the production delays were people wanting the orange machines. But this stuff looks so cool. And they are really, really nicely printed parts. They seem to be of very high quality. And one of the cool things is that from their printing mills, they actually have rooms that have a ton of printers that are printing all this stuff. And they're all this printer. They're all Prusa Mk2s. So it's nice to know that right off the bat, you know, my printer will be capable of printing at this quality, which is quite nice. Here's our... we won't show you all these pieces, but this is one that you will see quite a bit. This is the control cover for the front panel. And it's nice. It's nice. I don't know if these are PLA. Honestly, I don't know if this is ABS or PLA, but that's a nice print. There's a tiny little bit of stringing in the text, but that's really minor. All in all, that's a nice clean print. So again, we won't get too much of this out because I don't want to confuse myself during the assembly process. But that's pretty much all that's in this box. I believe this is the rest of the pieces that kind of encloses your power supply. Again, they're the only black pieces in the kit. Everything else is this really cool bright orange. And then we have, the only other thing in here is our filament holder that goes on top of the machine. And then this is our, I forget what this is called. Oh, this, I was thinking this was Teflon tubing. These are actually just solid. These are strain relief for some of the wire bunches that go into the back of the printer. So we'll leave that in there. Whenever you're going to have these big bunches of wires, like to the heat end, for instance, and these get put in that bunch and secured so that this doesn't allow the wires to fatigue unnecessarily. Which, again, is something that you don't really get with some of the cheaper kits. I know it seems like a trivial item to have this little piece of plastic, but it's the engineering that goes into the stuff that you're paying for. And for a machine like this that I plan to have for quite a few years and put quite a few hours of runtime on, I want it to wear well. I don't want it to be wearing out, you know, in a few months. These are something I've never actually seen before. These are all the stepper motors. See, they're in this really nice box. Again, this is really nice packaging. I think what we see here is all that's in there. I'll go ahead and pull one of these out. These are beefy little motors. And again, these are all screen printed with their branding. If you can see that. This is all Prusa branded stuff. They didn't make the motors, but it's all labeled. Like this right there says this is the extruder motor. So there won't be any confusion during the assembly process. And what else do we have here? This is one of the Y-axis motors. That's an X-axis. And then these guys here, which is one of the nice things about their printing system, is that this is one of your Z-axis motors that actually raises and lowers the print bed. These have the rods integrated into the motor. Like, they don't have some, you know, strange connector or something. These are actually connected to the motor, so there's very little play. It's like this little fitting fits rather nicely. And from what I can see, this is 3D printed as well, so that's cool. It's cool to know that this machine made one of these machines, or one of these machines made this machine, shall I say. And there's desiccant in all these boxes too, which is a nice touch. So they're not going to show up and be corroded or anything odd. So we'll set that there. This is our last piece. Our last box, shall we say. And this, again, is one of the special things that you get by buying an actual official Prusa machine. This is the work surface that the machine prints on. And this is a heated bed. It has that nice new electronic smell. But this is not only a heated bed. This bed compensates, like if you imagine we're heating the center, we're going to get cool off in the corners. And this bed actually compensates for that. Like you can see the, well, I don't know if you can see because I can barely see. But the heating element that's laid in this board is arranged differently on different parts. So it compensates on the outside for some of the cooler areas, or the areas that will cool. So very nice touch. This also, I can't remember the name of it, but this also has a special coating, and it's one of the reasons that you tend to not need the glue stick like you might with some of the other printers. So we'll tuck that back in there. Set that on our PLA. Some of these pieces are not 3D printed. This is one of them. This, by the feel of it, is cast aluminum. This is actually what your print bed rests on, so this is nice. It won't flex or anything crazy, so you have nice accurate prints. And then this is the frame of the machine itself. And again, this is just a nicely made part. It's cast aluminum, again with their branding put on there real nice. Looks like all our holes are ready to go. It's flat, that's a plus, because they flat packed it. And this is an extra PEI. PEI is the material that is on the heated print bed itself, and you do get an extra sheet of that if you were to damage it, which hopefully I will not do. Because like the rest of this machine, if you handle it properly and operate it as intended, you shouldn't have any failures or anything odd like that. So hopefully the spares are kind of unnecessary. And in here we have a bunch of our rods. Sorry if that was loud. From the pictures I've seen, these pieces actually assemble the base. Like, these are just used to assemble the base of the printer. They actually don't do anything except hold the structure together. And then these rods go hand in hand with some of the threaded rods. To actually guide the various axes. I guess that's how you say multiple axes. Axes. And this guy here. This is just stuff for cable management. Guess they pack that on there. This is just for cable management. Once we have our groups of cables installed, some of this stuff will go in there to protect them and keep them bunched kind of neatly. So we'll set this aside. And we are unboxed. We are ready to go. So first we're going to... It does say that our stream's offline here. Let me look at this briefly and see if there's a problem. Hopefully we've been streaming because we're 20 minutes in. Let me go ahead and bring the stream down and put it back up just to make sure. Okay, so I think we're live again. I just wasn't getting an actual stream, so hopefully we were actually broadcasting. Hi, Thorin. Or is this who I think it is? Okay, I was just worrying a little bit because I didn't actually see any video on my YouTube dashboard. It's a little concerning. So we're actually ready to begin. Hopefully I didn't lose anything or misplace anything. All right. Had a lot of anxiety about this. This is probably not the most complicated thing I've ever assembled, but it tells us a bunch of do's and don'ts, how to do things once they're assembled. Maybe this isn't the, I think this is the handbook. Maybe we don't actually have an instruction manual. I'm pretty sure we opened and looked at everything. Couldn't imagine they'd stick it in someplace odd underneath. Maybe they forgot to throw us some instructions in here. That's actually fine, because most people recommended that you use the online instructions anyway. Yeah, I think this is actually like a user's manual. Yeah, this is not the installation guide. There's actually another book that's supposed to come with this that's the same size. So... And like that, I wouldn't imagine they'd put it in here with the filament, but we'll go ahead and look. Before we come to the conclusion that they forgot it. Guess it's not supposed to open that way. Guess we're supposed to go this direction. Oh, okay, we can yank that out. That's vacuum packed with a big old desiccant pack in there. So yeah, it's kind of nice. They send you a full kilogram of filament, which a lot of printers kind of send you like a sample package size. I've seen some really, really strange rolls. Some of them are comically small, where they actually give you like a 10 or 20 foot piece. And you can see there is a significant amount of filament on there. Because that's roughly 2 pounds. Alright, we checked the box. Not in this box. It's not in our heated plate. Not in the motor box. I don't think I threw it away with any of this initial packaging. I guess on our original paper, it does direct us to go online for the assembly instructions. But every other video I've seen, it did actually include... Oh, it is on here. It's on the checklist. Assembly guide and manual. It usually does come with a hard copy of the instructions and then directs you to the website for updated ones. So we'll go ahead and fire my laptop up here. Luckily, I did have it here kind of on standby. Though I've used every plug nearby, so I might struggle to find a place to plug this in here, so you might have to bear with me for a minute. Switch this off while I adjust it. Again, hopefully that didn't destroy anybody's eardrums. But I'm pretty sure my little laptop here is dead. Dead, dead, dead. Critically low. Yeah, we gotta plug it in. So I'll be right back. Alright, and while that's booting up, I'm going to go ahead and let the guys in the Prusa Facebook group know that I'm streaming this, because I know some of the guys in that group, including myself, have had a lot of questions about the assembly process. So hopefully I can give some people some insight here as I fumble through things. So, how do we Facebook? Alright, I had planned on showing most of the assembly instructions along the way on my secondary camera here, but being that I'm going to have to use the digital copy, I don't know how well that's going to work. Because I really don't want to mess with too much of the streaming PC here. So we'll just say we're streaming. Streaming the assembly of our Prusa i3 Mk2 kit today. And there we go. I know there's going to be a couple people in there that are interested in the process. All right, so here is our address. And we'll pull these up and get started. Yeah, I don't know why I don't have a video preview, so I have to take your word for it that the stream's working okay. This old laptop, this is a sad old laptop. I know we're probably just going to be displaying a PDF or something similar, but it's gonna push this bad boy to the limit, even doing that. I had tried to use this computer before with just a 720p webcam, and even that, it just wouldn't work. Just would not work. Man, this thing's slow. HTTP manual.prusa3d.com. Yeah, I'm gonna have to demand a second bag of Haribo gummies to replace my missing manual. That only seems fair. We want an English manual, of course. I wish I spoke Italian or German, but I do not. And here is the Mk2 kit assembly. I was hoping I could download the whole thing, but it appears that is not an option. And it's just, this is just going over some of the things I went over before. It's telling us that our parts are all listed on the bags, that there is a 1-to-1 size chart for everything, so we can double check that we actually have the part that they want us to have. Okay, that just seems like an introduction. Oh, that's why it's called introduction. Okay, here we go. We're going to do the Y-axis assembly. The necessary tools, we're apparently going to need our wrenches, our nifty little screwdriver, which is now sticky from the label, and we're going to need our needle nose pliers, which luckily these are easy to open. And we're in. And our hex wrenches. Let's get rid of all this stuff. It is kind of, I'm kind of thrown off that we didn't have our assembly manual here. So we need one of these bags of our 3D printed parts. God only knows which one it is. I believe it's this one. Oh, how great is that? This is part 2 of the assembly, and this is bag 2. So this should be pretty straightforward. And I can see already part 3 is going to be our x-axis. So we have our bag of parts here. They're nice. This is like, it reminds me so much of like Legos. Like they feel almost exactly the same. They have that nice, rigid, clacky plastic quality to them. And again, these are all really nicely printed parts. I know that doesn't translate that well on the camera, but they're really cleanly printed. And I know they're not going to use, like I said, you can see the layer lines, but it doesn't really make sense to go with a really, really thin layer height to get the kind of quality that you'd use on like a finished print for like a statue or something like that. So, totally excusable. I have the clickiest mouse in the universe. Okay, wow, it really jumps into it here. Okay. We're going to do the best we can. So we're going to take these parts. These are our corners. I guess I can show you. It goes directly from... How well you can see that here. It goes directly from get these parts out to here's what this looks like assembled. So this is going to be fun. I imagined it was going to be fun. Okay, so I assume these are our two biggest threaded rods here. And we need what I assume would be labeled bag 2. There we go. Bag 2, our Y-axis assembly. And there is a lot of stuff in here. Holy moly. A little side note, this is a cool part to me. I've never actually seen linear bearings. Like this is this goes on one of these shafts. Yeah, that's quite nice. But there's ball bearings in there lined up. Linear bearing. Okay, anyway. So we need our M10 nuts and M10W washers. Which it looks like we only have... Yeah, there's only... There aren't many duplicates, so... Go ahead and get them out here. I already got the wrong ones out. These are our M8 nuts. Go ahead and throw those back in. We don't need those right now. Okay, so we have our nuts and our washers. Hopefully that's not too clacky on the table. I was gonna put a mat down, but I was afraid it would make dust and fuzz, which these printers do not like. Okay, so here we go. We are going. It does kind of leave it up to you to figure out how they did everything. I was not expecting that. They give you several pictures of how things are assembled. So it looks like in the middle we have two washers here. We'll face them against each other. And then a pair of nuts, which I assume are going to tighten down on each other. That is going to take some time to get that on there. I guess I should put them both on. So we have a pair of nuts on this side that are kind of in the middle here. These aren't the finest threads, but they're not very coarse either. Get them on here. And I did see a piece of advice in one other... It wasn't an assembly video, but it was a guy giving his thoughts after the assembly process. Looks like they're about there. We'll go ahead and get our other one nutted up here. But he said to not tighten anything down on this initial layer, because it will need adjusted. So it's kind of a waste of time to tighten everything down. I'm just excited to have our first orange pieces assembled so we can actually feel like we're on our way. Alright, get them wound down there, right about there. Okay. So now it looks like we have our 2 washers, 2 nuts, and then it looks like I should have done a third. We actually have another nut. I'm really hoping I don't have to come back and disassemble this. I'm kind of expecting it. Nut, another washer, and then whatever the hell this thing is. So we have our first piece in place. And then I believe these are all the same. I'll double check. These all appear to be the same. So we're going to have that, and it doesn't look like there is a washer in between there. Looks like that just goes on like so. Yep, and then we have another washer that fits nicely. This is a well-engineered product. That washer nests neatly in that piece. And then we have our end nut. And we'll kind of tentatively snug this up just a little bit so we don't have our parts flopping all over the place. Piece 1. All right. We're almost finished. From what I've seen, if you really fly through this, there are guys that have assembled it in 3 or 4 hours. But on average, people say that if you kind of don't go at it at a breakneck speed, it'll take you about 5 hours. So unfortunately, I didn't get started as early as I wanted to. So we're probably going to get 50 to 70% done today, and then we'll have to finish up tomorrow. But I would imagine you spend a lot of time with like cable management and finishing touches. So hopefully we'll have the bulk of the structure assembled today, so it'll actually look like we have a 3D printer. I was kind of hoping to do some test prints today. Up. I almost made a mistake. Okay, so in the middle here we have 2 nuts, 2 washers, and then another nut. So this actually needs to go into our centerpiece. I need a little, I should have hooked my Dremel tool up, and I could have just held it against this and spun that nut on. But there we go, that's good enough. So we're going to have another nut here. Another nut. And a washer. Our end piece, and then the pieces that hold it on. Again, our washer nests nicely in our plastic. And that is our first piece. We are on our way. Get some space here. So there is piece number 1. We'll kind of adjust our camera. So we're not just looking at our laptop keyboard. So here we have our first assembled piece, or partially assembled piece anyway. And our second piece is very similar, how we have 2 nuts, our 2 center washers, and then a nut that comes the whole way in here to the middle. I don't know if this is the fastest way to do this. It seems to be. I kind of look like an idiot, but what are you going to do? Okay, so there we have our 2 nuts, 2 washers, and third nut. And then both ends are kind of the same on this one. We'll have our inside nut, a washer, our plastic piece, and then a washer, and our cap nut. These threaded rods do have a nice feel. They almost feel like... they're probably just painted, but they almost feel like anodized. How it has that satiny feel. Feels nice, because I've handled a lot of threaded rods, if anybody else has. A lot of times from the machining, they're very sharp and you can actually cut yourself, but these are finished very nicely. And our other end is the same way. We're going to have a nut, and it looks like we have exactly the correct number of or pieces of hardware, so that's cool. Nut, washer, plastic piece, washer, nut. All right. All right. We're underway. Okay, I think we're officially finished with that step. Step 3. This tells us some things about making sure our spacing is some specific thing, but being that we're not tightening anything down, we'll just adjust that whenever we need to. Okay, so now we have, I think all 4 of these short threaded rods are the same. They appear to be. So now we have 2 of these, and I assume this piece. And now we need our M8 hardware. So we'll get these out. I'm not throwing these bags away. I know it looks like I'm throwing them in the trash can, but we're just tossing them on the floor. And we have our nuts. So it looks like we need to put a washer and a nut. Again, we'll use our hand rubbing technique here to put these on quickly. Get it roundabout in the middle. And then same deal here. It looks like these are the same. They both go through the center of this plastic piece. Alright, so we have these 2 pieces, and our again, nicely printed little piece here. And these go through it like so. That's a nice fit. That is a nice fit. All right, these nuts are going to be a little bit tougher. We have a washer and another washer, and then a nut on each of these. We'll see if we can get them both down at the same time. Hey, hey. There's a pro tip. Gotta get your nuts on quick. Alright, and again, we're not going to snug this up. They do give us some notes about proper length and distance and whatnot, but we will address that when we get a little bit closer. And it appears our nut goes on first on the ends, and all 4 ends are the same. So we have our nuts that go on a little bit, and then a washer. And we'll double check. It is nice. It has 2 different angles here. And we'll just double check. And yeah, we're definitely doing this correct. And we have the same thing on the other end. We have... Oh, don't want to lose it. We have nuts going on first, and then our washers on the outside. I would assume these, I can already kind of tell where this is going to go in our other piece there. So there is our second piece assembled. Or third, technically. So we'll set that to the side. And it looks like we have a similar deal with our last 2 rods. You can tell already these long ones are going to go this way, and the short ones are going to be the front and rear braces. So we're going to have a nut that goes on far, goes in the middle here. And I believe this is all part of the belt system. Like, if I'm not mistaken, our little belt wheel cog thing will go in here. Or a bearing. I guess that's, yeah, it's on a bearing. And our belt that's in this little package will actually move the print bed on our y-axis. So we get that on there. We have a nut And then this guy goes on there like so. And then he is encapsulated on the other side with a washer and a nut. And this guy needs to go the whole way to the middle. All right. Again, not snugging anything up. And same deal. Nut goes on first. Little ways. And then we'll have a washer that goes on there. And I think we're pretty close to actually having our base assembled here. Because we have this piece, and then this second rod is actually independent. So we have a nut and a washer. And then a nut and a washer. I'm starting to feel better. It was a little intimidating at first, kind of just having the images of the assembled pieces, but this isn't going too bad. Okay. Scrolling down. Yep, and here we have it. So here we're actually going to assemble our base. Get all our zip ties out of the way. I love zip ties. They are fantastic for cable management, especially something that doesn't have to be removed at some point in the future. Okay, so we have this piece that will be oriented like so. This will be our other side. Try to get this out here where we can see it. And then we have, let's check our second view. Okay, this piece will go through the top of these fellas. So we need to thread these on a little bit more than they were showing, so they can stick out the other side to put washers and nuts on them. Okay. So that will go like so, and then our bare rod goes on the bottom. Wind these up nice and far. Looks like we went way too far, but that's fine. That's trivial to fix. All right, wiggle them in there. All right. Get them kind of approximately where they're going to go. So that will be this end, and they both get secured, well, all four get secured with a washer and a nut. So our structure is taking shape. Okay. And same thing on the other side. And it looks like we have exactly the correct amount of hardware too. Which, from what I understand, there is a bag with, I guess the spares are in this a separate bag. But they definitely play it kind of close to the chest with the hardware. Okay, and a washer and a nut. Oh, we already got our washer. Get started there. All right. So we are loosely assembled on that side. And then on this side, we have this piece, which we want to orient this way. And again, we'll thread these a little farther than they need to go, so we just have space. And then we can snug them back up later. Okay. And we want this facing in. So we'll go on this side and this side. All right. And our 4 washers. And nuts. Here's the first 2. And the other side. This side has a little less room to work with because our black piece is kind of nesting into our orange piece a little bit, but they still fit nice. Okay. And we're loosely assembled. Okay. And again, it gives us some warnings about making sure our placement is correct of these things, but it doesn't give us any hard measurements. So it says that these are supposed to be a little bit closer to this end than that end, so we'll bring them down here, but I don't know what it really matters until we get something else in the mix here. And you can see, you do want to be careful because say we missed one of these pieces, like we only had 1 washer. We're slowly getting to the point where there would be quite a few things to disassemble to fix that mistake. So you want to watch that you have the correct number of pieces. Like I said, I don't know how much the placement really matters at this point, but the number of pieces absolutely does. Okay, so I think we're done with step 6. We have 2 washers left. Nuts left. I don't think we overlooked any. Like I said, I certainly hope not. Okay, so we're going to step 7. Oh my, we're jumping right into this. Okay, so now we get our frame. I had kind of thought that this is going to be a little farther down the line. Okay, so they want us to lay this on the table. I wasn't planning on having this laptop here. So we're going to lay this on our table. Is our audio pretty terrible? What's wrong with it, if I can ask? Is it just noisy or is it too loud? Because I had some problems earlier. Like, normally we don't have any problems, but like, are we clipping or am I too quiet? Because I'll do my best to fix things. Oh, static. See, I don't know what was causing that. Unfortunately, that is definitely a bummer. Because we have. We actually do a podcast and stuff, and this is all the equipment we record with. I mean, I guess I can switch mics here at some point, but yeah, I don't really know what's causing that. Let's double check our cables and stuff. I have a Yeti that I can use, but it's generally lower quality than these mics, so I don't know what the deal is. I guess I might as soon as we get done with this stage, I'll take a break and try to adjust it, if you can bear with me for a couple minutes here. I don't want to lose my place. Okay, actually they had it like so. Do you think is my voice too loud? I can probably turn the gain down a little bit, but I don't really think that's, unfortunately, the cause of the static. I'm kind of confused at what we're supposed to do at this step. I guess they're just having us use this. Having us use this to orient, like approximately orient these pieces here. But yeah, I'm sorry about the audio. Like I said, after I get past this stage here, I'll take a brief break and try to address it as well as I can. I guess they just want us to square this up roughly. Again, I'm not gonna tighten these because as long as everything is more or less placed correctly, we can square everything up nice after we get some of the other stuff assembled. Because I can't imagine that we'd get this very square just kind of doing this. But there we did what they told us to. But yeah, I think we have about 3 more steps, and I'll pull the stream down and actually check the audio to see how bad it is. Hopefully it's not terrible. Because I had that problem this morning, and I messed with it for almost 2 hours. That's why I got a late start. And I thought we had kind of addressed some of it, but I can't imagine what it is. None of our cables are running near any of our power lines. We have some decouplers between the mixer and the computer itself. And like I said, this is our normal like podcasting setup, and normally our audio quality is fantastic, so I don't really know what's introducing the problem here. I guess I can try, like maybe the mixer itself is getting some interference being so close to the computer because I have it on a stand, so I can try like moving the mixer away from the computer, but well, maybe I'll do that right now, okay, because we're kind of finished the rough assembly here of our base. So we'll stop here because we don't have any loose parts out except for these nuts and this piece, which is kind of trivial. But if you can bear with me, I'll take probably 10 minutes here, and we'll either fix the problem with these mics or I'll set up a second mic that shouldn't have any problems, but it'll probably pick up every noise in the basement, so you might hear a little bit more than just me. So bear with me and we'll be right back.